The hotel clerk looked up with a face that instantly told me something had gone terribly wrong. A winter storm had shut down highways across northern Colorado. Every nearby hotel was full, and the woman standing beside me slowly realized that the reservation she had booked months earlier had somehow disappeared from the system. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and tried to smile through obvious disappointment. Minutes later, after exhausting every possible option, the front desk offered one impossible solution. My room had one king-sized bed. When she finally accepted that there was nowhere else to go, she nervously stepped backward while we stood by the window overlooking the snow-covered parking lot. Her shoulders brushed against mine as another gust of wind rattled the glass, and in a quiet moment filled with uncertainty, she whispered that maybe we should simply stay like that for a while, because, for the first time all day, she didn't feel completely alone. If stories about unexpected kindness, hope, forgiveness, compassion, and second chances mean something to you, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue bringing heartfelt stories like this to you. My name is Nathan, and I had traveled from Ohio to Denver for a conference I wasn't even excited to attend. After losing my father the previous year, work had become nothing more than a distraction from grief. Every day looked the same, and every conversation felt rushed and empty. I had convinced myself that keeping people at a distance was easier than risking another painful goodbye. The woman beside me introduced herself as Rebecca. She had flown in from Oregon to attend her younger sister's wedding rehearsal, only to discover that the blizzard had delayed nearly every flight and buried the city under heavy snow. She carried only a small suitcase and looked exhausted from a day filled with disappointment after disappointment. The hotel staff apologized repeatedly, but there truly were no rooms available anywhere within 50 miles. They even called neighboring towns, yet every answer was the same. Snow had trapped hundreds of travelers overnight. Rebecca insisted she would sleep in the lobby if necessary, but the manager quietly explained that even that wasn't permitted because emergency crews would soon convert the common area into a temporary warming station. I could see pride battling desperation across her face. She didn't want charity. She simply wanted a place where she could rest without feeling like a burden. After several awkward moments, I offered to share my room. I expected her to refuse immediately, yet she studied my face with careful hesitation before thanking me. We agreed on simple boundaries built on mutual respect. The arrangement wasn't comfortable, but neither of us had another realistic choice. As the snow continued falling outside, we spent the evening talking instead of sleeping. What began as polite conversation slowly became something much deeper. Rebecca told me she had spent years caring for her mother through a long illness before finally trying to rebuild her own life. She confessed that she often felt guilty whenever she chose herself over everyone else. I shared stories about my father teaching me that kindness was measured not by grand gestures, but by the quiet decisions no one else ever noticed. Somewhere between cups of hot chocolate and the distant sound of snowplows outside, two strangers discovered they had been carrying loneliness far longer than either realized. The next morning, the roads remained closed. The wedding rehearsal was postponed, and my conference was canceled. Instead of feeling trapped, we walked carefully through the snow-covered streets after breakfast, discovering little coffee shops, bookstores, and neighborhood bakeries that somehow remained open despite the storm. Denver transformed into a peaceful white landscape where everyone seemed more patient with one another. We watched strangers help push stalled cars, restaurant owners hand out free soup, and neighbors shovel sidewalks together without expecting anything in return. It reminded me that difficult seasons often reveal the very best in people. That afternoon, Rebecca received heartbreaking news. Her elderly aunt, who had planned to attend the wedding, had become stranded several hours away and felt responsible for ruining the celebration. Rebecca immediately blamed herself for not being able to help. I watched the familiar weight of guilt return to her face. Remembering my father's words, I encouraged her to stop measuring love by circumstances she couldn't control. Sometimes simply showing up with an open heart mattered more than arriving on schedule. Inspired by that conversation, Rebecca contacted her family and suggested turning the delayed rehearsal dinner into a virtual gathering until everyone could safely arrive. Relatives joined from airports, hotels, and living rooms across several states. Laughter replaced frustration. Children waved excitedly through phone screens. Grandparents shared blessings. And what could have become a disappointing memory instead became one the entire family cherished. Watching her smile, without carrying the burden of perfection, felt like seeing sunlight break through storm clouds. When the highways finally reopened 2 days later, we drove together to the small mountain church where her sister's wedding would take place. The ceremony itself was simple but beautiful. As I sat quietly in the back pew, I realized something had changed inside me. I no longer felt like a man hiding from grief. Helping someone else had slowly helped heal the empty places inside my own heart. Before leaving for the airport, Rebecca thanked me for offering more than a hotel room. She said I had given her something she desperately needed, proof that genuine kindness still existed between complete strangers. I smiled because the truth was exactly the opposite. She had reminded me that opening my heart again wasn't weakness. It was the beginning of living instead of merely surviving. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that even the smallest act of kindness can change someone's life, please support the video by liking it, sharing it with others, and subscribing for more uplifting stories that celebrate hope and compassion. Before we reach the end, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment telling us about a moment when a stranger's kindness changed your life, or when you had the chance to be that person for someone else. Months later, a handwritten Christmas card arrived at my home. Inside was a photograph of Rebecca's family smiling together after the wedding, along with a short note saying that one unexpected snowstorm had restored her faith in people forever. I placed the card beside my father's favorite photograph, realizing that his greatest lesson had quietly continued through me. Sometimes life doesn't bring people together through perfect plans. Sometimes it uses canceled reservations, winter storms, and impossible circumstances to remind us that hope often arrives wearing the face of a stranger. And when we choose compassion instead of convenience, we may discover that the room we opened for someone else also became the place where our own hearts finally found peace again.